What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR Guy, another episode of the People's Questions, where I answer all the awesome questions that you guys have sent. We got a pretty solid episode. I hope this isn't really all too long, but it might be, including one question that has got to be one of the weirdest collaboration of questions or ideas or topics that I've ever seen to date. So jump right into them. The first question comes from Andrew Rogers. He wants to know, do I believe in the Final Fantasy multiverse theory? Basically, for those that don't know what it is, it's a theory that states that all the Final Fantasy games all exist within, like, it's kind of multiverse, isn't they all exist, but they belong in different universes, but they coexist, which would explain why there are certain elements or certain creatures that exist in all of them, because they're all connected to this multiverse, which I'm not going to argue against. There's no evidence that supports this, but if Square were to come out and ever state that, yeah, that's how our games are mapped, it would make perfect sense. I mean, especially if you go into the Dissidia games, that would explain how you can take all these different characters and bring them all together to one place. So while there is no definitive answer or definitive proof that says that there is a multiverse, if it were to exist, then that's something I could easily accept. Next question comes from Matt Cruse, and he wants to know, what is my favorite moment in the Star Wars movies? I actually spent a good amount of time thinking about this one, and I would say probably my favorite moment is probably the Duel of Fates in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I think that particular moment really set the bar as for the potential of Star Wars. It kind of cranked that up to a whole nother level. I mean, the music, the fight choreography, it was unlike anything we had ever seen before or since. And the fact that this new set of Star Wars movies is going back to the kind of the old school style of fighting, which I personally, it was okay for the 70s, but I don't want to see that now. I kind of like that fast-paced action because it showed that these guys were professionals. They knew what they were doing. They practiced. And I kind of want to just see that. I don't want to see little kids playing with lightsabers. It's no fun. I mean, I even enjoyed that fight so much that I even went out and I got Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from that film. So that's how much I enjoyed that moment. Next question comes from Tanuki Player, and he wants to know, would I ever consider doing a matchup using film or comic book characters? Probably not. When you go outside the realm of video games, The advantage I have when I stick to video game characters and why I don't really like to mix them is because these characters are operating under very, very similar rules. If you start adding characters from films and comic books, then you have to say, okay, which interpretation are we using? Are there rules, if we're taking two different characters from like a film and a comic book, do their rules are they similar? Can they operate under those same rules? And if they can't, what compromises can we make? And so I kind of want to keep it as simple as possible. And if we go into those realms, and that just opens up an entire new world of possibilities. But I think that would be something that another person from another channel could handle. But that's certainly not for me. I like to stick to games. Next question comes from Santos Carpino. You want to know, which is my favorite death battle? Sam Fisher versus Solid Snake, for obvious reasons. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, as some of you already know. And so to kind of see that matchup play out was very, very enjoyable for me because I'm not really a Sam Fisher fan. I tried playing Splinter Cell once, couldn't really get into it. I've always been when it comes to stealth games, I've always been a Metal Gear Solid person. So to see that fight play out, I was very, very satisfied, which is why that is, without question, my favorite death battle that they've ever made. Next question comes from Abiel. Can't say your last name. Bad with last names. And he wants to know, what characters from Devil May Cry, Metal Gear, Resident Evil, and Final Fantasy aren't going to be used in this Versus series? Okay, I gotta go into exceptional detail about this one. Number one, Devil May Cry. I have used every single character that can be used except Dante, and I've already got a match planned for Dante at sometime later this year. So Devil May Cry is out of the way. Metal Gear. I think I've used just about every character that can be used at this point. I can't use anybody from the Cobra. I mean, I've only used one character from the Cobras, and that's the end. But that was a sniper versus sniper battle. That was very, very easy to analyze. I'm not sure if I can use Liquid Snake. I don't really have enough detail for him. Saldus I've already used. Gray Fox I've used twice. Raiden I think I've used at least once. Maybe I might consider using him a second time. I've used Sam. I've used Solid Snake. Big Boss is kind of hard because the question is who hasn't he fought? And so Metal Gear's a little bit hard to do. Resident Evil, well, I'm already doing Albert Wesker versus Krauser next. There's a bunch of characters that I could use, but I think characters I wouldn't use in Resident Evil are probably characters that don't have a lot of information or aren't very prominent characters. And in terms of Final Fantasy, I have a video going into detail about 10 characters I can't use. The problem is that I'm incredibly busy. Just to give you guys a quick little rundown of what has happened over these past couple of days. I just got done playing Horizon and getting the review up for that. That took about 3 days to do. At the moment, I'm currently working on Berserk. I got quite a lot to say about this, and I got a lot of problems with this game because this game is way longer than it needed to be. I'm like 36 missions in, and I still have 11 more to go. As soon as I get this done, I will start working on the review for this one. And then on top of that, I still am maybe only 4 hours into Nier Automata. And I have to somehow get the review up very, very quickly for that. Because in 4 days, by the time this video comes up, Mass Effect comes out. And for the next 14 days after that gets released, that is going to completely consume my entire life. Until at least April 4th when Persona 5 comes out. And in between that, I have to find out some way to set up time in order to work on Albert Wesker versus Krause. Because I would like to get that video up before the end of the month. And so I am really, really packed, and if you know anything about my work schedule, you'll know that I usually sleep all day and I have to work all night. And so my sleep schedule has me very, very little time to work on anything else outside of these immediate projects. And so it gets very, very frustrating. So the second I have even maybe 2 or 3 hours by myself, because this is literally all I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. The second I have a good amount of time to work on that video, I will get it up, I promise you. So that's just a quick little update about where that video is going to come up and just what characters can't really be used in the Versus series at the moment. Next question comes from Robert, and you want to know, can I do a Final Fantasy team matchup for my Versus series like a 2-on-2? A 2-on-2 sounds difficult because who do you put together? I don't know who you would team up. You don't really see, I mean, don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy is all about teamwork, but there's only a few characters I can think of that I could see working as a competent team. And that's kind of tricky because there aren't any two characters in any one team that are similar. They're very, very different, and so you have to kind of understand what their team dynamic would be if they had to go up against another competent team. That's a little bit challenging. I could do something like a 2-on-1. A 2-on-1 I can understand, but doing 2-on-2 might be a little bit more challenging. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, there are definitely some ideas I've had before in the past, but I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but it would be very, very difficult to pull that off. And then you have to think time-wise length. I don't want to make an hour-long video like I did with my first Infamous video. That was an absolute nightmare to edit. So I can't imagine how difficult it would be to add 4 characters into one video instead of just 2. So maybe if I had enough help or enough time. Next question comes from JDS46960. You want to know, have I played any of the Legend of Zelda video games? Of course. I've played to date only 4. I've played Zelda, A Link to the Past, obviously that's a classic. I've played Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and Oracles of the Seasons on the Game Boy Color, and I believe I've played Ocarina of Time on the N64. I think that was the last real Zelda game I ever played. Since then I haven't really played any since. So yeah, I've played 4 of them. Next question comes from HydroGoodBlood881, and I gotta say, you have some of the wackiest questions ever, because I don't know where you got the idea for this one, but you guys better buckle your seatbelts for this one. You want to know If Wolverine and Laura somehow went into the Metal Gear Solid universe, would they be safer with the Patriots, Foxhound, Diamond Dogs, or I guess you mean your fourth one is the Philosophers. Now let's just run down this because this doesn't make any sense. Number one, the Patriots, by Metal Gear Solid 4, most of them are dead. And they're a bunch of AIs, so unless you found some way to transfer their brains into computers, there's no way they could join the Patriots. So let's just throw that one out of the way. Number two, Diamond Dogs. They're a bunch of mercenaries. Don't get me wrong, Wolverine is a wild animal at times, but I think he's done enough killing in his life to want to be paid to kill people. He's a soldier. I think he has some level of honor, and I don't think Laura would like to be used as a weapon anymore since she wants freedom. So Diamond Dogs is out of the way. The Philosophers aren't really a warlike organization. It's a bunch of politicians that came together and got money. They took all their resources and created a big sack of money to control the world. So, yeah, Wolverine and Laura, I don't think they're they're not politicians. So I don't think they would fit very well with that group. That leaves only maybe Foxhound. Foxhound is your safest choice, but again, that would require them to work as part of an odd unit of individuals. You don't want two characters that are too similar. If you think back to all the members of Foxhound that we've used, they've all had their little, quirks, but Wolverine is not. I'm not sure he would fit in that mold because he's a brute. He's a fighter. I mean, Sniper Wolf, she's a sniper. Ravenclaw, like Vulcan Raven, is really big on weaponry. You've got Decoy Octopus, and then you've got Psycho Mantis. They all have special, unique combative powers. Wolverine is kind of just a straight-out brawler. I'm not really sure he would fit very well into Foxhound. So if I could be honest, I think Foxhound would be your best bet, but I don't even think he would fit very well into that one because the other three, there's just no way that him or Laura would fit in that mold. So if I had to pick, I'd go with Foxhound, but again, that's very, 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 very unlikely that they would even fit into Foxhound. Besides, I'm not really sure I'm not even sure Big Boss would even be interested in having him part of his team. I think they're more alone. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, sure, Wolverine and Laura could work with teams, but I think they would want to work with teams that are more like themselves. I think they feel more comfortable working with other mutants than just people that have special, real just weird combative skills. Next question comes from Gokusen. You want to know, will I do my own Dante versus Bayonetta matchup? No. I think Death Battle did a pretty damn good job with their matchup, so I don't feel the need to go over that matchup. Next question comes from Ivan Gallagher, and you want to know, which video game do I believe was the biggest waste of time for developers? Duke Nukem Forever. That development time frame was just insane. There was no reason, for what we ended up getting, that was just not worth the time. Biggest waste of time. I mean, it's not like Final Fantasy 15 where that was in development for like a decade. And after playing it, I think it did the job perfectly. I wish we had gotten that game sooner. I personally think that should have been the real 13 game. That game is what should have followed Final Fantasy 12. But it did the job of getting the franchise back on track after it had been in total chaos for the last number of years. So I think it was well worth the wait, but I think that Duke Nukem Forever was not worth the wait at all. And the last question of the episode comes from Ladybug012, and you want to know, if I found out without a shadow of a doubt that I was in a computer-generated world, what would my reaction be? So you're basically saying that, how would I react if I found out I was in the Matrix? Don't wake me up. I don't really like the idea of waking up with all these plugs on me and having to run from gigantic sentinel robots like to kill people. And I gotta say, Zion is not a very clean place. So yeah, if the machines want to use my bioelectricity to power up their machines, as long as I get to live a comfortable life where I don't have to really worry about too many things, then yeah, keep me in the Matrix. Don't wake me up. And with that, those are all the questions you guys have sent in for this episode. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode possible, especially even the very weird questions. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. Make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday, before I start filming this. Like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and happy St. Patrick's Day, because I will see you next time.